Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. I am your host today, Zach Finch. I am here with Gregory Elliott, one of our plethora of team members of three now that we have.
Ooh, an ever-growing team.
Right? It's going to be weird not just saying co-host. I'm going to need to kind of come up with a new word for that. Well, we've covered lots of the last game. We had 2 episodes on the last game. So our usual segment of Transfer Tuesday is now going to be Transfer Wednesday.
It doesn't alliterate well enough.
Yeah, the alliteration isn't there, but
I think, Zach, I'll call it Wildcard Wednesday Transfer Special if it's all right with you, mate.
That's that. You know what, mate? That sounds so much better. You're right. But obviously, we've had some news where we were jesting last week that we wouldn't hear anything and that nothing was going to happen. And then actually a flurry of things have happened, not on the last day, which is exactly what you want. How much they mean, what it means for the season, who knows? I feel like everyone's in the same boat with how they think we're going to end up. But we're here to talk about it anyway. So where do you want to start, Greg? Do you want to start with strange rumours, transfers out, transfers in? Where should we go?
Oh, we've got to start with the big news, the big transfer in, surely.
Right.
We can't leave that till the end.
Well, you went out of your way to learn how to pronounce his name, so who have we got coming in, Greg?
Gromback, whose first name, Albert Gromback.
Danish international. We brought him in from Rennes on loan with an option to buy. So I'm not going to lie, it's kind of crazy how this has happened, because it's like, where... Who?
Out of the blue. I told you, we keep our cards close to our chest, which is why I wasn't hugely concerned by the lack of news. We've had this before where you don't hear a peep until about 3 hours before they actually announce it. And I think actually the first time I saw the rumour was sort of late last night, and bang, here he is, signed and on the website and everything.
I think it's been knocking around. Like, I've seen it on the socials for a couple of days, but it's one of those things where, like, it wasn't even that, Greg. It's like, who's making the decisions? who's gone to see this? And, like, I know we have a whole scouting network, obviously, but for me, it's kind of mad. Is this something that Jurek was happy with? He must have signed off on it, surely, you'd like to think? Or is this a Sports Republic have had this on the cards for a while kind of thing?
No, I think that this has got to be off the back of that meeting that they had to identify transfer targets. Maybe this is a name that, Jurek has had his mind on for a while, or who knows. But I mean, it's a new player, and quite exciting new player, an attacking option in the centre of the park. Sort of a bit creative. He's not scored a huge amount of goals in Ligue 1 for Rennes, it's got to be said, but he scored 2 goals and had 1 assist, which, to be fair, does equal about the tally of the rest of our team. So
that's going to be my next question. That part of sort of the interviews with Jurek about whether or not we go back to Italy and get some people out of there, and he's like, they're not Premier League ready. What about the French league screams Premier League ready? And what I find even more strange in this situation is he seems to have played regularly for Rennes, but it's his first season with them as well. Yes. So unless we've come in with a significantly lucrative package, and I guess maybe the lucrative package is just a chance to impress in the Premier League, it's kind of odd to me that we're saying we want to get all these players that have Premier League quality, and when we're saying we can't find them in Italy, what is there that we can find in France?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's strange. Like, again, it's not. I don't think I have the right answers. This isn't me being negative about the signing necessarily. It's just a bit of a out of the blue weird one. And I'm guessing maybe it was just trying to find people that actually wanted to come, to the club in such a situation, and maybe it's just finding the right fit from a personality perspective.
They're currently 1 place above the relegation zone in Ligue 1, so I don't know I don't claim to be a Ligue 1 expert by any stretch of the imagination. I did some research and looked at some of his stats and a couple of his video packages, and he looks like a decent player. And it could just be a case of a bit of a tumultuous time and not a great team around him, and that's why his stats don't blow us away. It could be that 2 goals, 1 assist in that team is an outstanding effort. I mean, they themselves have only won 5 games of their 18 this season. So
Still more than us.
it is, yeah. But I don't know. Someone's seen something in him, and as is often the case, I feel like I say it a lot on the show. The jury's out for me until I see him in action.
Yeah.
But it seems it's a positive step. It is an area of the field that we are weak in.
Very much so. Well, we don't really have the manpower, right? Like,
No, we've
one of
seen it.
the
We've seen it in action this past week when we keep bringing Will Smallbone on. So
well,
it's
not only that. I think one of the reasons that I've heard that we wanted to recall Shay Charles was in case Big Les went back to Chelsea, which is completely reasonable. But obviously, what worries me about that is that we felt like maybe we couldn't get a deal like this over the line. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is a huge positive. Maybe he'll surprise us all.
he describes himself as a player who likes to press. So it sounds like he fits beautifully into exactly what Juric wants from a player, and hopefully he can lead from the front. And
it's a loan, so if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. And if it
yeah,
does work out, there's not the option to buy, and it's happy days. So, yeah, you're right. I think it's not the worst thing. I think I've just been burnt so much by this window. It's every transfer in now is very sort of kind of maybe more analytic than I should be. Whereas previously I was quite excited and ready to let everyone give it a go, sort of thing.
Yeah, but it seems like a really positive, low risk signing. Like you say, it's a loan, so if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it does work out, we've got the option to buy. Supposedly, great, and if it doesn't set the Premier League alight, it could well be a well and truly versed player for the Championship season. So
Very true. Very true indeed. Right. Well, I think despite the fact that, we've only talked about the one player, I think it's time for a word from our partners at Zencaster, mate.
yeah, so here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster.
And we're back. So obviously we've had Wellington and Kai Sander come in. We've not really seen much of either of them. Kai Sander's been playing in the under 21s. I think he's been capped twice. I think he's actually playing tonight at time of recording, which is a kind of, maybe we'll get a chance to see him, but he's very much one for the future. We kind of knew that whenever we were buying someone that young. Other weird link also from Ren, struggling Ren, who we are aware of because he played in the playoff final against us, is Glenn Kamara.
Yeah.
Bit of a weird one, mate. I wasn't really expecting us to be, again, I think similar sort of area of the field we're really struggling to have people in.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, it's I mean, I don't know what we're doing poaching Ren and what we're thinking, but we know he can play at the level, so it makes sense to me. Like, he's an experienced player, which is also something we lack. So yeah, why not? Why not bring it in?
It's a difficult one, right? Because it's kind of like we don't really know what to expect from the window. And being linked with anyone, let alone getting some signings through the door, I think is personally a surprise to me. I expected us to get to the end with only outgoings.
Yeah.
So it's exciting either way. Another big thing, which isn't necessarily a player signing, is that we actually look, Greg, to be expanding the backroom staff with Johan Spors as our new director of football. Whilst it's not confirmed, there's a lot of sort of conversations going on in the background and things happening to sort of get that over the line. But, that's exciting. We've been asking for sort of a person in charge of the football for a long time. The latest reports are he had his work permit has been denied, so apparently there's some issues going on there, but I'm sure they'll be able to sort that all in the wash, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't claim to be an experienced head, knowing these names and what they've done in football and where they come from, but just appointing someone to specifically be in charge of football is a step in the direction that we wanted to see, and we saw when Kraft stepped down that was the direction they wanted to head, and so yeah, good. It feels like Sports Republic are working on learning the lesson they need to learn. And so I have to respect that and hope that it comes good eventually.
I think it makes sense. I think he worked with a group previously, so he'll be used to the model of having different clubs as well, and potentially looking to utilize that a little bit more. Because whilst it's wonderful to see our counterparts in Turkey do well, that means absolutely nothing for Southampton. And if
Yeah.
they have good players that potentially we could take next year in the Championship, or maybe some of our own players who are on loan there back, I think we should start maybe looking into that. We've already seen a inter-club transfer or inter-conglomerate transfer or whatever. But yeah, I think anything that is a step in the direction of stability and potentially moving forward to a place where it feels like someone is actually paying attention to what's happening in the club, it's nothing but a positive. That's pretty much tapped out my income in Spain.
I've
I
got a
don't know.
couple. I've got a couple more.
Come on, yeah, but you've always got the insane one. So let's hear. Come on.
I have a genuinely insane one where I can't. I have full caveat of I do not trust the source necessarily, but have seen it banded about in a couple of places of signing Gazdag from Philadelphia in the MLS, who's another
Right.
midfielder,
Sure.
another experienced midfielder. Um, I don't know if there's any depth to that. And announced on the club website today, not so much an incoming transfer, but a first professional contract for one of our youth, Moses Cisse, signing on.
Nice.
So, things are moving about. Things are moving.
Things are happening. That's always a good. That's always a good thing to happen. But obviously, there are some outgoings we can talk about. One that I'll quickly get out of the way. That isn't actually probably, in my opinion, more of a talking point than the other two. But I think until next season, obviously, Ronnie Edwards, he was brought in with lots of sort of buzz around him, and then for some reason didn't really get a chance at all. And I think maybe it's just because the a list of centre backs behind, that in front of him was vast. Was obviously gone on loan to QPR, and he seems to be doing well out there now, and has sort of got jumped straight into their team. So hopefully we'll have a championship ready player by next season, unless of course they decide to put in some sort of ridiculous bid to buy him, which I wouldn't put past us accepting, if I'm totally honest, with the way sorting out club finances will be when we go down.
Mm.
If it's not
Who
confirmed
kidding,
yet.
Zach? Who you kidding? We all know 13 points is the target. We're not messing
Yeah,
about.
you're not wrong. Obviously, Maxwell Cornet, who he sure did play for us 4 times.
That was the most depressing farewell statement I've ever seen on a website.
he played for us 4 times. We wish him well. That is all they could say, and I feel bad because it's like, do you remember when I reminded you that Stephen Calker played for us? You're like, oh yeah, pretty sure he had about double the appearances that Cornet had, and I'm relatively sure it will go down as one of those pub trivia questions
It's
in the
such a
years to
strange
come.
one because I really felt like he would do something for us this season. It was like when we signed him on deadline day, it felt like a weird signing, but a positive signing, like a player that could play ball and take on some players. And I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't see a similar sort of resurgence of him as we saw with Sulemana under Juric. But in fact, it took less than a week for Juric to say no. No, hopefully he goes back to West Ham. So
I wouldn't be surprised if by that point he'd made up his mind and decided he didn't want to play anymore. I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if even if there was a clean slate, like he's a lone player who was just like, nah. And maybe he could have done some more, maybe putting him in the right positions and play him in the right place and not expecting him to be a strike force, despite the fact that he was not should have never really been deployed like that at Bournemouth. It sort of, didn't really get a proper chance. But also, if you're in his shoes, you're not getting a proper chance. Yes, a new manager's come in. You have a chance to go on loan somewhere where you're probably going to get significantly more of a chance with probably better weather and a better city to boot. You're probably going to go and do it. And I don't really blame the guy, but also like it's nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? And also nothing really lost. You kind of forget he's even there. He wasn't making the match squads. He wasn't even.
Yeah, I
kind of forgot he
disagree.
was
There
there.
is something gained because now we've got another slot in our Premier League loan. We can
This is also
potentially
true, whether or not we want to fill
Premier
that.
League team. So, yeah, I'm
Be
sure we'll be on
interesting
the
to see.
lookout.
Yeah, so obviously he's out the door. Another one of our summer signings, but an actual one. Ben Brereton Diaz to Sheffield United in the most sort of unsurprising piece of news that we've all known for the last month, with him turning up to Bramall Lane, watching their games, pretty much camping outside the stadium, hoping to leave us, which I don't blame him either. And I think it's a mutually beneficial deal, right? Like if he goes on to do really, really well and they decide to buy him for more than we paid, happy days, we somehow make a profit. If he starts playing much better and the championship is his level and we go down and have a championship striker, happy days. Like, what's your opinion on that?
No, I don't see him coming back. I think he'll respect and good riddance. Like another player that I thought could do something for us, but I mean was clearly above his level. Didn't fit in for one reason or another, and fine.
I'd say it's brutal, but it's brutally honest.
Yeah, like I mean, he tried. I've got nothing bad to say against him apart from he wasn't good enough to cut it, and that is what it is really. Like, good. I hope that he goes on and succeeds at Sheffield United and finds his feet in a team there, but it was clearly not destined to be here. So
It was not. It's just one of those things. Right, we'll talk about a few little bits more and then wrap up after a word from our partners at the Global Sports Podcast Network. The Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasting with dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, fantasy football, and a daily Premier League wrap-up, broadcasted in 5 different languages. This is your one-stop shop for your daily football fix. Find GSPN wherever you find your usual podcasts. And we're back. So there's only sort of two small things that I've got left, realistically. So somehow we'll drag it out. One, Larios potentially wants a change of scenery and is looking to move to Sevilla because apparently he wants to sort of reignite his career a little bit.
I'm sure the medical rooms there are much nicer.
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Because I'm kind of like, are they going to be willing to take a risk on someone that's played, I don't know, like 12 minutes of football in 3 years? Because I don't know what's going on. There must be something more. Like, I don't know if it's just that it's consistent injury prone. Like when we bought him, it was very exciting. He was part of the cohort of City players we bought, an often forgotten part of that cohort. And I remember we've all heard your story. I've heard it many times of the fact that you thought he was a ball boy, and no one is really surprised by that because he's still young looking now. But
Young and tiny, like he is short, but he could play. I was impressed with him when I watched him play. He could play down the wing, and he was a handful for defenders.
Genuinely a player I forget we have, though. This is the thing. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't be devastated. Apparently, he's quite nice and he chats about the games and stuff to people down in Ocean Village. I can't remember where I saw that. I thought if I remember rightly, it was someone commenting about it. But also, like, I wouldn't begrudge him for going somewhere else to restart his career.
Near the first team in so long. There's no.
Like,
If
you
he needs
wonder
to
how
move on
much.
to get in somewhere, fine. That's another space in the squad. We've got such a bloated squad. If he's not going to be a part of the plans, then fine, move on to Seville. Fair play, good club. I'm sure he'll do well out there.
So, speaking of injury-prone players, do you reckon we're ever going to see Ross Stewart again, or is that
Maybe. I don't
I feel
know.
bad for that man. Genuinely, like it was a very silly decision for us to buy such an injury-prone
He
player, but
feels like
also
he would fit into a Juric system very well as that target man that we sort of have been lacking if Onachu's not on the pitch or Tallpool's not on the pitch. So I guess if he can get himself back fit, I feel like there's room in the squad for him. But is he ever going to be fit again? I don't know. He's been nearly fit for since we signed him, as long as I can remember. I think.
it's almost there, very close. And then he would play a game, and then would be like, I think he had that run of like 2 games. He almost
Yeah,
had a full 90, and then he got his like first proper start, and then went down after 26 minutes, and that was like the last time we saw him.
yeah,
And it's just got to be slightly upsetting. It's got to be devastating to be as a player to have to deal with this, and that. But it just makes you remember, like makes me remember and wonder, like we've got two probably quite expensive players, probably one Larios less so on our books that ultimately, when it comes to the team, don't contribute a lot. They might contribute an atmosphere, but like you could pay someone to do that. Like
yeah.
it's
Not
where
a
I'm
lot
at with
more to
like
make.
it's where I'm at with like that weird way that the Forest, like Nuno described James Ward-Prowse as being great in and around the club, despite the fact he's not playing football. And I'm like, well, that's wonderful. It's really nice that we're gonna keep him on loan for the rest of the
Yeah,
season.
I
But
mean, you think with Prowsey though, it's less probably like personality and atmosphere around the dressing room, although I'm sure that goes some way. But also, he's an experienced head at this point in his career, and he'll be, a wealth of knowledge for younger players. And he is a very intelligent footballer, um, and so there's a lot that you can take from that. So there's a bit more to it than that. But yeah, all the sort of injury prone, yeah.
I'm just hoping it doesn't end up like a Livramento
I mean,
situation.
I feel like you're saving the biggest talking point till last, right?
Is this the fact that Tyler Dibbling might be out of the door sooner rather than later? Is that the bit that you're trying to bring up, or is it something else,
Yeah,
Greg?
no, that's it, right? Are we going to end up losing Diblin this window?
I don't think this window. I think this window is time for all of the piranhas to test the water. Right? It is who's going to start putting in bids and what they think are reasonable and where they will ultimately land towards the end of the season. Put the seed of doubt in the young lad's head, make him start thinking, "Oh, maybe I could go." He's going to get a choice of potentially lots of places to go.
Yeah. Well,
RB like to think being the main one, right?
we've
That's
seen on
currently put
Sky
in.
Sports that Leipzig, have supposedly put in a bid for 30 million euros, which is about 25 million pound, and that we've said no, that's not
No,
enough.
thank you.
So
But is it enough to disrupt him? Like he's shown so far that kind of stuff doesn't get into his head. But also, there's rumors of him not signing a new contract because it's not good enough, and that's when it's going to start. Because like the problem is, it doesn't help that outlets like Sky Sports are like, well, surely he can't stay at Southampton. He's too good for that. And you're like, mate,
yeah.
he's been playing
He's
for like
he's
half a season.
18, and so
Yeah,
a season in the championship with us is, in my opinion, wonderful for his career. That's a wealth of experience in a team that he's going to be probably the star of, if not a huge part of. He'll know he'll get game time in a surrounding and an atmosphere that he is so familiar with because he's grown up there, and then hopefully win promotion back to the Premier League, and then we'll go from there.
yeah.
Maybe another year in the Prem with us.
I'm in full agreement because you look at some of the younger players that fell down sometimes a dark path, that sometimes a ill-advised path. Fortunately, a lot of them being related to Man United. But like, I just can't help but like think of Jesse Lingard in Seoul after multiple failed loan spells. You've got Deli Ali, who I know's had a lot more trouble than just what's just the football side of things. But in my opinion, this is what happens when you sort of have you are ill-advised, and he might end up getting to a point that he outgrows us. You're right, but like the idea of sort of playing 20 games and then having teams chomping at the bit to then play him for three for like over the space of a season, I just think that I would be very very cautious.
Yeah.
But the flip side of things is that football is a short career. You have to make the money, and you know also the sort of young guys that have gone out to Germany, especially the young British guys that have gone out to Germany, have resulted in great things for them, right? Like you look at sort of Jadon Sancho before he came back was extremely
Yeah,
influential in Dortmund.
and
Jude
arguably
Bellingham.
since he's gone back to Dortmund, seems to have been a revitalised.
So there you go. It's like you can also kind of understand the other side of things and how people are quite, willing to put in a new challenge, especially in the German league. You've seen it with other players, sort of older players such as Harry Kane, and it's. I don't know. I have really, really mixed feelings on it. I hope that he'll stick it out. I could also see us, get rid of him.
But yeah, I can see that. And I don't know. I hope he stays. I think a year in the Championship will do him good. And fingers crossed he stays the same forever and becomes the next Matt Letizia. That's all we can hope, right?
Well, that's the wonderful note of optimism that you usually like to leave this podcast on. So I think with that, we'll wrap up. Thank you very much for listening. As always, we appreciate all your support. Like us on all the social media. We're on Twitter, Blue Sky, X, the everything app, TikTok, Instagram. It's anywhere else, anywhere we can post random clips about football, really. So yeah, come join us. If you listen on a podcasting platform, please make sure you give us a rating and a like and stuff. All that stuff helps out, and we really, really appreciate it. It gives us a nice little buzz, makes us feel like we're doing all the hard work we put in gets appreciated, and we appreciate all of you for listening. So have a wonderful morning, evening, or afternoon, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.